welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And it is morning time, and I just finished up my 2 meetings. I wanted to record because I fear that I will not be able to record later. I've got a bit of a day ahead of me. I didn't record this weekend, as you may have noticed, because I just wanted to take a break, and I get to do that. So that's what I did. And today, what's happening is we're having a photographer come take pictures of our house so that we are prepared to put our house on the market whenever our dream home hits the market down where we're looking to buy a house. So it's going to be a busy day cleaning. As you may notice, if you're looking at the video, I've got a vacuum behind me and a messy bed where my Weimaraner is sleeping right now. And my Boris, who I will show you quickly, is sleeping as well, right there on my lap. And his tongue is hanging out. He probably can't say, you know what? I think it's worth coming around and taking a look at his face, don't you think? There he is. Oh, cute little Bobesies. We call him Bobesies. Okay, here we are. So today's topic I wanted to talk about was pretty interesting. It's something that I've thought about before, but I haven't really been able to, I guess, articulate it. So I'm going to try today. And what the topic is, it's about humility. It's about that. I run across this a lot, and I experience it as well. It's like you're in the program, or let's have this apply to everybody. So it's not just people who are trying to get sober or stay sober. It's people, it's wanting to do the best that we can do. It's wanting to practice the principles of our lives in everything that we do. For those of you in a sobriety program, practicing the principles in all of our affairs, doing the work, and you feel like you're doing that. You feel like you're spotting your defects. You feel like you're self-reflecting. You feel like you're being humble, but yet you're not. You're still sick. And it comes out in ways that are in our character defects, and we don't even notice it. So, the literature this morning was the chapter called Into Action in the Big Book. And it's a really long chapter, and it talks about like all of the steps of the sobriety program. But what I honed in on today was the idea of humility. And honestly, I should look at yesterday's notes too, because I think those were also all about humility and getting humble, if I'm not mistaken. I remember writing down humility versus, yeah, humble. Okay, that was 2 days ago. So, a couple days ago, I guess that was Saturday, it would have been the daily reflection. And what that reminded me of is that I was envisioning ego deflation like a helium balloon. So, when you have a birthday balloon, a helium balloon, when you first get it, you have to hold on to the ribbon, because if you don't, it will go up into the cathedral ceilings, and you can't get it down until it loses some of the helium. And this happened all the time when the kids were young. We had this like 2-story foyer, and whenever we had a birthday, balloon in the house, eventually it would be like let go of, and it would end up like all the way in the top. So we'd have to wait a week or so for the helium to deflate so that the balloon would come down and be at either be able to reach the ribbon, or eventually the balloon will hover at eye level. And that's what I was thinking about that day when we were talking about ego deflation. That's what it feels like for to allow humility in. I can't allow humility in without having that ego deflate. And I was thinking that morning, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to have my ego deflate. It's kind of like when that balloon starts losing its helium and it starts coming down, that energy that was keeping it up, like that excitement of having a balloon that would fly to, it's that feeling when you're a kid, like this balloon would fly to the moon if I let it go. And that's what my ego would do too. And when it finally starts to lose that helium and starts to deflate and sink down to eye level, it's like, meh, it's not so fun anymore. That's what ego feels like. Um, when it starts deflating and coming down, it's like, this isn't so good. It's like those instincts that we're given as human beings that protect us. Sometimes they get a little out of control and we do things that are harmful to ourselves and to others. And even though it doesn't it's kind of a little bit shameful feeling or guilty feeling to admit that they feel good, but like if somebody's not being nice to me, it feels kind of good to react, and put them in their place. That's ego. It doesn't feel good to suck it up. Well, instead of calling it suck it up, now I call it pausing and responding in a more thoughtful way. Um, so I heard somebody say on Saturday how, and I had the same problem, and I actually just talked about this over the past week or so about how the word humility it sounds so similar to humiliation that I feel like that is subconsciously a little bit of why it doesn't feel good to have that helium balloon, that ego start deflating. And one of the things that is, it's like a phrase that we hear a lot in the sobriety program is, I may not be much, but I'm all I think about. That is the ego. Um, so so back to today, that early growth in the program for me is just that it's letting that humility come in. It's like the humility is pushing out the ego. But humility, what humility feels like is it feels like being teachable. It feels like I don't have to have the last word, that I can actually let somebody else um, share their thoughts and opinions, and I don't have to tell them whether they're right or wrong, that I can actually sit there and listen without talking back. That's what humility is for me. It is so freaking challenging for me to have somebody, man, I was feeling this just yesterday, my poor husband. um, that when I hear somebody telling me what I should do, or this might be a better idea, um, sorry, my mind just went blank. This might be a better idea. And I start listening to the suggestion. My ego is there. That little voice is there telling me, don't listen, Rachel. Don't listen. You know better. And so a great example is yesterday, I was making chicken Kiev, and it's a Ukrainian dish. You've probably heard of it, but it's very challenging not challenging. It's a high maintenance dish. It took a couple days to make. It was delicious. It was absolutely delicious. Anyway, I filled a nonstick pan up with peanut oil. I used peanut oil, and I was going to deep fry them. I was in the last stage of the recipe, and I'm going to deep fry these lovely pieces of chicken Kiev. And my husband said, not to say that you're doing anything wrong, but I wanted to suggest that maybe the next time you deep fry, you may want to try it in one of our Le Creuset. Okay, Le Creuset is like one of our really, really nice um, dishes. We have like Dutch ovens. We have several of them, different sizes, and they're like really, really nice pieces of cookware. And so I was thinking as I was listening to him, I thought, he is trying really, really hard not to upset me. And that is unfortunate that I have made him feel that way. But yet, maybe it's not such a bad thing. Maybe we're both learning. Maybe he's learning that my decisions are good and his decisions are alternatives. Um, but the way that I would have reacted before, this is how it used to be. Okay. Let's say before my stroke, let's say when we first moved in together, even what it used to be was I would get for example, I would get the nonstick pan out, pour the oil in it, and start heating it up. And he would say, no, we need to use Le Creuset. Or he would actually get the Le Creuset out and he would pour it in there. I mean, he would usually communicate. It wasn't that bad, but it was just kind of like he wins. That's what it felt like. Okay. I'm just speaking to what it felt like for me is that he was telling me what to do. And I didn't like that. And so over the course of our relationship, I would say over the past 10 years, we've been together for a long time. Over the past 10 years, I feel that shifting. And I hope that it's shifting in a good way. I think that I have an incredible amount of respect for this guy. Okay. My husband. I have an incredible amount of respect for him, but that does not stop my ego from talking back. And I'm learning how to let that ego deflate, not deflate all the way to the ground, but deflate to the point of it being eye level and welcoming that humility in. Um, so how did I get to the point where I am able to see these things and talk about them? And I'll tell you the beginning of that, what opened the door for me for that was step 5 of my sobriety program. Step 5 of my sobriety program allowed me to open my mouth for the first time. And what I did not know is my mouth, okay? My mouth was the only way that that helium was going to get out of my head. That was the seep. That was the little pinhole where that helium, that ego needed to seep out. And it's the only way that it was going to work. It was the only way that I was going to become teachable. It was the only way that I was going to be able to be molded like clay. And the steps of the program have helped me be molded. And then my faith journey that I have been working on is also allowing me to be like clay, to be teachable. But it all started with me sitting down that day. I remember it vividly. I remember sitting in my sponsor's house and turning to her like, this is why I was there. I was there to talk about step 4. I was there to talk about who I had resentments for, what my role was, and um and start seeing what my character defects are. Start analyzing the molecules of that helium inside my head and in the balloon that I needed to deflate. So I needed to do more than listen in the meetings. I needed to start talking. I needed to start offering my perspective on the resentments that I had been holding for so long. And once I did that, and I can't give you any more advice other than that little voice that tells you I don't want to do it, your wanter, the little voice that tells you that you don't want to do the things that are good for you, you have to tell it to shut up. You have to tell the voice inside your head that has always led you to do the things that are going to keep you from growth. Tell it to shut up and say, these people might know a little more than you do. And then you do it. You just do it. You show up at your sponsor's house, or if you're not in the program, show up at a family member's house. If you are in a faith program or church, you can talk to somebody at the church about what's going on between your ears and what are some of the things that are happen to be your character defects that you want to work on. So then after that, the reading in the book this morning goes into step 6, which I talked about the other day. It's like the willingness to just like be that hinge on the door, be the hinge that like swings you open to face the empty room that you can start decorating and rebuilding. Um, the door is not going to swing open unless you start talking about it and stop hiding that stuff in your dark place. I should say me. That's how it worked for me. And the way that I needed to do that was to trust. I needed to trust. Um, I I used to feel like there was this I had expectations, and expectations for me are nothing but disappointments in waiting. That's what they are for me. Um, they are me constantly trying to tighten my grip on the strings of everything. I feel like I'm holding on to the strings that control everything around me, and I'm tightening my grip on them, and yet there's nothing at the end of the string. Because I can't control anything. All I can control is what is within my fingertips. And once I start recognizing that and actually looking at my role, then I can begin to manage my own attitude, not manage the outcomes, but manage what actually is going on between my ears. So I have that little voice. This is what the reading was reminded me about this morning is I have that little voice that the one that is holding on to the strength, the one that's telling me to tighten my grip on all of those strings that have nothing at the end of them, all the puppets that I think that I'm controlling, there aren't any attachments. I can't control them. That's the voice that's holding on to all of those strings. It's the voice that tells me to sleep in and skip a meeting. It's the voice that tells me, even if I do go to a meeting, go on Amazon during the meeting and look for some greeting cards or something like that, which is exactly what I did today. I showed up to my meeting, I took notes, and then I thought, okay, and I shared. And then afterwards, I thought, okay, well, I think I need to buy some greeting cards. I'd like to send more greeting cards to people. The reason why that was in my head is because my friend who has a podcast, who just started a podcast, they had a little highlight reel and it was talking about how we should send more greeting cards, which is something that I love to do. And I'm almost out of greeting cards. So, anyway, yeah, I'm thinking of this in my head while I'm supposed to be in my morning meeting. Sorry, Boris just moved the camera. Um, so it's that little voice that's interrupting me from growing. It's the little voice that tells me to have a deep dish pizza instead of a salad. It's the little voice that tells me not to do yoga when I know full well that I'm having a day that I could. It's the little voice that last night had me looking at YouTube little, I don't know what they're called, reels or short videos or whatever. Last night, before I went to bed, I was like, I just want to look at something funny. And so that was the beginning of a long road of me looking at videos. And I woke up with a terrible feeling of a hangover. Um, and I have like bags under my eyes and cognitively, it's my brain seems to be catching up now, but like when I woke up this morning, I was secretary in my morning meeting and I couldn't remember what I was supposed to say. I was making my coffee in the morning and I couldn't remember, like, what do I do now? Oh, I need to get my cup. And then what comes next? Like that's how bad it gets when I trigger my symptoms. I can't think. I truly can't think. Um, it's a direct result of looking at the computer when I shouldn't be. I know better. You guys know that I push my limits. And sometimes I wonder if me pushing my limits is a good thing, regardless of the cognitive decline that I have afterwards. I know that sounds weird, but sometimes I wonder if that suffering is actually teaching my brain how to, like, even though I have triggered my symptoms, is it still training my brain to be able to adapt to seeing movement? I don't know if it is or not. I think that it has to be doing something, but all I ever feel is the negative. So it's that little voice that was telling me this is what I should do when it's not what I should do. I need to not listen to her. But that voice is my ego. And I feel like, I always talk about listening to my wanter, or don't listen to ignore my wanter and do the next right thing. I feel like my wanter and my ego, they're BFFs. Um, and I like to listen to both of them. They've been my BFFs my whole life, and they've gotten me into some very negative situations, some very sticky situations. So I have learned in my program that they need to be ignored a lot of times. They feel good. My wanter and my ego, they feel good. And it takes practice for me to quiet them down, do the next right thing, and recognize, oh, this felt good. It felt good in a different way. It felt good in a nurturing my serenity, nurturing my joy way. So, this voice, this ego, it also is the one that tells me to react and apologize later, or not apologize later, rather than pausing and responding. It's the voice that wants instant gratification. Um, it's the voice that gives me selective amnesia for the consequences of the things that I do that I shouldn't be doing. So what I've been learning is this self-aware, this hyper awareness of what's going on between my ears. And there's some of the tips that I have about this. Some of the things that I do is hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Like, that is the basic maintenance that silences that voice. Because when I'm hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, that voice gets louder. And it starts palling around with my wanter, and it starts getting me to reach for the deep dish pizza. It gets me to crawl into bed and hide. It gets me to open up my computer and look at videos, which I know that I cannot do. Um, Also, like, pausing. It's incredible what pausing does, what the quiet does. If you just have a quick surrender, no matter what you're doing, if you just are super hyper aware, and you pay attention to, like, when somebody, like, think of a person that you interact with every day that might rub you the wrong way. Okay, I have one in mind. It's pretty easy usually to find one of them. So think of that person and think, the next time I need to interact with them, I'm going to quickly pause. I'm going to surrender. I'm just going to pause. I'm going to get quiet for an extra beat, even. And then I'm going to respond and see how it feels. Because that's the type of hyper awareness that I need to have. I need to acknowledge, Rachel, you feel just a little bit icky. You feel a little bit icky talking to this person. So just stop for a minute and acknowledge that little voice, that little, who's a bitch, she needs to settle down. And the only way I can do that is to get quiet for a second and breathe, and be like, okay, shut up. And then respond. And that's the next right thing. Um, Other things like accountability, just not looking at the consequences, that selective amnesia of the consequences, um, recognize it, you know? Also find some sort of replacement for the things that your ego wants to do. Um, Things that the voice wants you to do. Instead of scrolling or looking at Facebook stuff yesterday, I could have very easily opened up a Word document and started writing a couple paragraphs of my book because that doesn't hurt my head because it's not moving. And I can actually close my eyes and just vocally start talking through the chapter. And then finally, I think, and this is really important, is tracking your successes. Like, if nothing else, acknowledge that you just did the right thing. Like, notice your progress, not perfection. It's okay if the bitchy ego came in, but notice that you noticed it and say, yeah, that's a win for today. The willingness to do these things is like a muscle, and it takes a lot of trust. But if we practice it, it's like more and more available. If I keep practicing the willingness to do these different things, I start trusting a little more that I'm not going to die or I'm not going to get attacked. I think that's what it is because that ego is trying to protect me. If I tell my ego, quiet down for a minute, I'm going to do something different than what you're telling me to do. And if I do that and take my time with it, I will notice I'm learning that I'm not going to be hurt if I don't listen to my ego. But that takes practice because it's habit. And she has always been trying to protect me. So I have to learn that she doesn't always know what's right. And that's the same thing as like when my husband is telling me, next time you're deep frying, maybe you should try the Le Creuset. And I have to quiet down my ego that says, screw you, I'm going to use whatever pan I want. And instead just pause and be like, did he just tell you you're a terrible human being? No, he didn't. He suggested a different pan. Why don't you try it? And I tell my ego, quiet down. This handsome guy has something that to offer that might be better than what you have to say. You know? Um, if you're into the God box, like it's a great opportunity to get the God box out. And when you notice your ego is there, get the God box out and say, ego, shut up, and stick it in the box. You know, that's another way that you could use the God box. So I think that's it. That's all I have today. That was a lot. But I think that humility and ego is like a dynamic balance. It's like constantly seesawing, and I have to continually fine tune it. I have to be vigilant at being self aware and not take myself so seriously. Understand that that ego, if you look at it from a humorous standpoint, that ego is almost just ridiculous that she is constantly there telling me to do these protective exercises. Just let go. Like loosen up and let life happen a little bit. Stop trying to control things that I can't control. You know, me trying to control the things around me is almost like turning on a Netflix show, which I'm not going to do, I promise. turning on a Netflix show and thinking that I can control what the actors are about to say. I can't. And that's about as much control as I have of the world around me as well. So I learned a lot from this episode. I hope you did too. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.